name is Liz Partsch,
And I am Paul Rowley.
and welcome to Farm and Dairy's Weekly Rundown.
We will be giving you a rundown of all the news that happened this week. And we have
Yes.
lots to talk about today.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of things that occurred.
Yeah, we got a lot of reporters out
Yeah.
on the field last week.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of
Yeah.
on-site coverage coming your way.
Yeah,
this
very cool
issue.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome. Well, you want to kick us off,
I
Paul?
guess so. So picture this, all right? So like in the Hollywood version of this job, what we do as reporters, I like to think that I have like a board like somewhere in my house that has like black and white photos taped on it, and it's all connected by like a tangle of red yarn. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I say that because that's kind of how I feel about like following the emerging cases of New World screwworm in Mexico. Because there's like, it's like this whole, like we're following it and it's getting somewhere and it's this like terrible monster. So there has been another case of New World screwworm confirmed in Mexico, specifically in the city of, and I hope I pronounced this correctly, so I'm just going to, preface, Sabinas Hidalgo, in the state of Nuevo León, in Mexico. This is now less than 70 miles away from the United States border.
Oh, wow.
So it is closing in. Yikes. This is actually, it marks the furthest intrusion yet of this flesh-eating parasite in an ongoing outbreak that is very much sending like ringing every alarm bell at the USDA, the Department of Agriculture. So the USDA has shared yesterday, that yesterday being of September of the 21st, that the affected animal that they determined had been infected by the New World screwworm was an 8-month-old cow. It had recently been transported to a certified feedlot in Nuevo León from southern Mexico, where there are actually active screwworm cases there right now. Sabinas Hidalgo lies on a major highway linking Monterrey in Mexico to Laredo, Texas, which is like, so it is like there's a direct path that this terrible, like terrible creature has to the United States, which makes that route, by the way, is one of the busiest commercial routes in like the world. Which makes this discovery very concerning for like the U.S. cattle industry and livestock industry, and so all of that. So currently, as they have been for a little while now, U.S. ports remain closed to imports of cattle, bison, and horses from Mexico amid fears that a resurgence of the screwworm could happen in the United States, where it was once eradicated, which would threaten agriculture and livestock in this country. The parasite's name, just to reiterate, as you've heard me talk about this a little bit already, is derived from the early stages of its very gruesome life cycle. So the New World screwworm flies, they lay eggs in the open wounds of animals and sometimes people, most terrifyingly of all, serving as and these wounds, they serve as their repugnant nurseries of this insect.
Ugh.
Yes. And once their larvae hatch, they burrow into that wound deeper and feed on it. Much like a screw twisting into wood, kind of like as you would. I don't work with wood.
You just
very
gave
much.
me.
It's terrible.
Yeah, that is such
Very
a
visceral.
I'm like,
yeah.
I'm uncomfortable.
I know. I apologize.
I
apologize to all of you.
We need to put like a disclaimer on this.
Yeah.
Disclaimer.
Trigger warning. Yeah.
Trigger warning.
Yeah, it's rough. And then as more of these terrible maggots emerge and consume this animal, the wound obviously deepens and the animal can often die from this infection. So anyway, tune into the paper, get online or pick up a copy of the paper from your local newsstand to read more about how the USDA is ramping up efforts to eradicate the screwworm, because they have quite a number of things that they have like a 5-point plan that USDA Secretary Rowlands was talking a lot about in a press release that was released about all this. So it's worth checking out because we don't want that.
Yeah.
So
you
nasty.
know what like the screwworm kind of reminds me of?
Yeah.
It's so random.
Yeah.
Did you ever watch Scooby-Doo as a child?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, you know that episode where there's like this worm that goes like underground in the sand, and Scooby and Shaggy are like racing like in the desert?
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that episode, but for some reason it just like reminds me of it. I don't know if it's just because I swear it was like a worm. Obviously, a human is driving the worm, but like the human is always the villain in the stories. But yeah, it just like reminds me because it goes in like in the sand, and I don't know, just
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know why it's like making. Obviously, this screwworm is a lot worse. I think I'd rather have that
Yeah.
screwworm, but
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm here for the Hanna-Barbera screwworm, not the
yeah,
Mother Nature one. So,
not the
yeah.
Mother Nature one. 100%
Yeah.
agree. Well, anyway, moving
Yeah.
on. This week I read about artificial intelligence.
Oh,
Yes,
yes.
which dominated discussions at the 2025 Shale Insights Conference in Erie, Pennsylvania, that I
Oh,
attended last week.
interesting.
Yeah, and at the conference, oil and gas industry leaders discussed how Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia are prime spots for AI data centers
Mm,
because of the state of these states' natural gas abundance.
mm,
That's really why
yeah.
what's driving this, this data center, a surgeons, ramping
Yeah.
up the efforts for
Yeah.
data centers here. Rural areas in particular are compelling for data center builds, said industry leaders, as they provide lower startup and operational costs.
Mm,
Costs. Build-outs for AI data centers would include the data centers themselves, as well as natural gas power plants, as AI consumes just massive amounts of energy
mm,
that need to basically have their own energy source.
yeah.
A recent data a report found that AI data centers require the same amount of energy that would power 100,000 households in a year.
Wow.
So that just to kind of give you a bit of a marker on
Yeah.
how much energy these data centers consume.
Yeah, no kidding.
Already, AI data centers, our build outs are kind of happening in Pennsylvania and Central Ohio, particularly Columbus. I'm
Mm.
sure a lot of people in that area may already know
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of data centers in that area. In addition to discussing the development of AI data centers, the conference also, featured multiple studies, including 2 studies from Ohio and West Virginia universities that could use AI to make oil and gas operations safer and more efficient,
Mm,
which was a really interesting part of the conference.
yeah.
And this could include detecting leaks in pipelines, which is, a common problem in the industry, as well as identifying ideal rock formations for carbon capture and sequestration,
Oh,
which is the process of capturing carbon emissions and injecting them into the ground,
okay.
for the purpose of reducing carbon emissions. So
Right.
that's kind of like the new,
Right.
very new
Right.
approach to, I guess, combating climate change.
Yeah, very cool.
So to read more about AI data centers in Appalachia, you can check out the story in the paper online, or in the print paper this week to learn, really about.
Excellent.
This is our first story reporting on AI data centers, but I'm sure there will be more to follow up, as it kind of seems like, the new,
Yeah.
really just like growth is
Right.
really, it's coming.
Yeah, it's
So
starting right now.
yeah,
So,
this is
yeah.
just the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
So
Very cool.
yeah.
Okay. Well, I have had to talk about, of course, on the cover of our auction section this week. We have another fabulous infographic, as we often do, thanks to our wonderful designer of infographics. And this one addresses something that every farmer with a silo probably knows already, but certainly needs like a reminder, and that is fire risk in your silo. So, what is like, so the picture, I guess, like an average sized or average proportioned like silo. A full one, let's just say, like as a hypothetical example, we got one that's like 20 feet wide, 60 feet tall, packed with about 400 tons of silage. So what does that represent? Well, obviously, like months and months of work. Probably about, if you want to put a monetary value on that, that's probably like $20,000 worth of feed in that
Wow.
silo. Yeah. If that silage goes in too dry, the danger that the farmer, who owns this, has to be worried about is more than just spoilage; it's fire. So most fires in silos don't happen like after like a really long time. They actually happen pretty fast, usually within the first 3 weeks after harvest. And it all comes down to three ingredients. All you need is heat, air, and fuel, and that can potentially erupt. And if those three, kind of line up in the right, order and sequence of events and everything, you might get a blaze. Ooh, very bad.
Not good. Yeah.
No. The tricky part is that silage that's too dry holds more air, which means more heat. And if you stack like fresh silage on top of old dry material, then that might be a recipe for a disaster later in. And then add in outside risks like shoot fires from bad wiring or even like static electricity, which obviously can happen like, all like that very quickly, very unpredictable. Then you get more than one way for trouble to start. So, and the stakes are really high too if you do have a fire. Drenching a silo usually means ruining the feed and can even make the problem worse by creating new hot spots. The better strategy is for like targeted cooling and unloading, so you save as much of the silage as possible. But at the end of the day, preventing a fire comes down to knowing the risks, monitoring your silage very, very closely, being diligent about that, and then being ready with the right plan if things heat up. So to get the full picture, definitely check out that auction cover. It's very,
Oh,
very much worth your time.
yeah, sounds very informative.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome. Well, in the farm and dairy this week,
yeah.
we also have an update regarding the epizootic hemorrhaging disease outbreak in Southeast Ohio,
Oh,
which we wrote about last week in the paper.
yeah.
The Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Wildlife announced it will be restricting bag limits for white-tailed deer in Athens, Meigs, and Washington counties from 3 to 2 deer. And this is in reaction to the heavy outbreak in those
Yeah.
specific areas.
Hmm.
Athens, Meigs, and Washington County, really are the most heavily concentrated. With Athens County having confirmed 1,631 dead or sick deer confirmed, 1,303 in Meigs County, and 1,850 in Washington County.
Wow.
So lots.
Yeah.
Overall, ODNR has confirmed 7,486 dead or sick deer across the state as of September 15th.
Hmm.
So the new bag limits will be in effect December 1st, which is the start of Ohio's deer gun season.
Hmm.
There will be a public hearing for the rule change on October 22nd, and public comments for the rule change will be accepted until October 16th.
Nice.
So, if you do have an opinion about this rule change, you can submit a comment. But yeah, so, just ongoing monitoring this EHD outbreak as it continues to develop until, basically winter frost.
Yeah.
It seems like we're going to be seeing more and more of these cases rising
Yeah.
until then. So
Yeah. Oh my goodness, those
Yeah.
poor deer.
I know, right?
That's
Protect
so
the deer,
sad. I know.
but you
I-
can't.
You can't.
You
Oh,
can't. That's the sad part. But
heartbreaking. Yeah.
Yep.
My goodness. Okay. From Sarah Welch, actually, our very own managing editor. So she went to Farm Science Review, of course, and she came back with a very, very juicy story that I think a lot of our readers will certainly appreciate for her exhaustive reporting. So the USDA telling us that farm income is expected to hit nearly $180 billion in 2025. Which is the second highest really on record. It's a
Oh,
really, really
that's
big.
good, right? Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, it's
yes.
great.
Sounds awesome, but not so fast.
Mm.
So at last week's Farm Science Review, which was held in London, Ohio, Sarah Welch heard from experts from Ohio State University who said that the story is indeed more complicated. So yes, on paper, farm income looks very strong, but much of it isn't necessarily coming from like very healthy markets. It's coming from government payments and like subsidized stuff. Which is it accounts for about $40 billion worth. A lot of that also is tied to disaster relief. So that's where your big, lift for those markets is really coming from. One of the challenges definitely is that crop prices are weaker than most people would certainly like them to be. I think corn yields might be breaking records right now, but prices are actually kind of dropping a little bit because there's just too much supply and not really that much demand. So that's kind of not helping things. Soybeans and wheat is also kind of not doing much better right now. Meanwhile, livestock producers are faring a bit better thanks to stronger cattle, hog, and egg prices, which is very good. But it's still a balancing act. And so that's kind of making things. It's just sort of adding another kind of wrench, in the wheel here. Meanwhile, farmers are facing higher input costs, of course, rising debt from operating loans, and then just big uncertainty around trade right now, which is kind of like that's been talked about for a little while. Tariffs are complicating exports, and the Supreme Court is set to weigh in on that later this fall. So we're going to start hearing, I think oral arguments are coming up this fall. Labor is also another piece of the puzzle, and Sarah kind of explained this at length too. So farmers are relying more on H-2A workers, but wages for those workers keep climbing. There is a proposed rule that could sort of slow the growth of that, which provide some relief for farmers, but that's very much kind of tangled right now and held back in bureaucracy, and that's kind of a complication there. And then, of course, there is the weather. Is another really important aspect here. Ohio, of course, saw one of the wettest springs on record. If our Ohio listeners and readers recall that, I know I certainly do. Even all the way up north in Cleveland, it was like very, very soaked this past spring.
Hmm.
And then that was followed by like the driest August ever,
Yeah.
which was very crazy. So that whiplash, of course, what does it do? It drained soil moisture. It stressed crops, especially soybeans. Climatologists say that this back and forth, which is like, the swinging from like really, really wet weather to really, really dry weather will likely become very common with climate change. This is like, something that we can come to expect in the future. But where does that leave farmers, Because that's like, how do you predict that or prepare for that if it's going to just be like all these extremes? Well, the balance sheets are still fairly strong overall, but profitability, of course, is a struggle, especially for small or debt-heavy farms. It's not all doom and gloom, though. Equity is up, land values remain strong, and there is cautious optimism about what a wetter winter that could come that would help like recharge soils and get things like back, kind of where they should be. But the takeaway of Sarah's story is that the numbers may look a little bit rosy, but the reality on the ground is pretty complicated. So definitely a lot to unpack there. And for the full scope of it, I would definitely recommend sitting down with the story because it's quite thorough, and she had a lot to report on that I think she explains a lot better than I probably did. So
Yeah, no, I think you did a good job.
okay, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it sounds like she did a lot of good, thorough reporting.
Yes, very, very
Yeah,
much so.
and,
Yeah.
and important information as well.
Yeah.
So,
Plus comments from the speakers who were there talking to.
oh,
It's really helped
awesome.
to
That's awesome.
contextualize stuff. So, gotta check it out, you guys. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, speaking of drought, which
Yeah.
you just mentioned in Sarah's piece.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, in the paper this week, we also have a story about the drought-like conditions that have been seen across Ohio, West Virginia,
Oh.
and Pennsylvania.
Oh my.
Yeah, so all of Ohio and West Virginia have been classified as either abnormally dry or in drought, including parts of eastern Ohio, which are in severe or extreme drought
kidding.
conditions.
Oh.
This August was actually the driest August on record in Ohio since 1895.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 1895, to repeat
Wow.
that, right? Things are not much better in Pennsylvania. Much of Pennsylvania is abnormally dry as well or in drought. Parts of Beaver, Allegheny, Washington, and Greene counties are in severe drought. In Pennsylvania, this was the third driest August on record.
Mm.
Yeah, so because of these drought-like conditions, you can expect a few things to change. For example, ODNR is urging people to be cautious during the fall wildfire season,
Okay.
which is starting early due to these dry conditions.
Oh.
So yeah, the story includes several outdoor burning tips, which include, know your current and future weather conditions when you're burning,
Yeah.
before you burn, have tools and water on hand, never leave debris, on it or burn, never leave debris burning unintended.
Yeah.
Sorry. And then be informed about state and local burning regulations, as well as some more things that you can find in the article. And the West Virginia Department of Ag is also urging its livestock producers to take steps to reduce long-term damage to pastures by confining cattle and reducing grazing pressure until there's significant rainfall. So now you can really see that these drought-like conditions are also affecting farmers, specifically on their pastures.
Yeah.
The story also reminds farmers to be mindful as they start harvesting crops because field, combine, or forage fires could start and spread fast because of these dry conditions, which I guess, obviously can lead to more wildfire and just fire risk.
Right.
This could include, farmers could, start making sure field equipment and pickup trucks have fire extinguishers that are charged, training workers on emergency protocols in case a fire breaks out, and having water trailers available in remote areas.
Okay.
So, all really important things to consider.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have seen, it seems like we're having an early fall.
Yeah.
I don't remember the leaves changing this quickly. It seems like some of the leaves some trees are already losing all their leaves,
Right.
it seems.
Yeah.
So, kind of seems a bit concerning, at least to me. But, so I guess, well, anyways, to read more about the current drought we are experiencing, everyone can check out the paper. But there is some good news. To end on good news, it is raining right now.
That's right.
As we record
Yeah.
this newscast, it's raining.
Yeah.
So not that, one rain will help that much, but, I guess we want to take all the rain we can
we'll
get
take
at
it.
this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Plus,
So,
my
yeah.
car is so dirty.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
See, we were just talking about our
We were.
our
My
front
windshield
windshields
is-
need a good rain.
Mhm.
It has so much crap on it,
So true.
and
Yeah.
yeah, I need that natural car wash from the rain,
Yeah.
so I don't have to actually buy a cheap car wash.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my poor station wagon.
I
Anyway,
know.
sorry.
Yeah. Well, That is the top stories in the paper this week.
Indeed. And to read more, because obviously you have to jump into everything that we talked about, definitely check out farmanddairy.com or find your local newsstand.
Yes. Thank you for tuning in and see you guys next week.
Bye.